served on the Board of Supervisors now since January 1st of 1989. Graduated of the NIAC, University of Northern Iowa, political science degree, caseworker for Congressman Berkeley Bedell when he was here, 40-year employee of United Parcel Service, married, 4 children.
And a grandchild.
Yeah, and a grandchild, happily married too. I better put that in there too.
Jay, I wondered, I know today we learned about how the county's appealing the decision on the hog confinement plan. I thought it might be interesting for voters to get a little bit of perspective on this. The supervisors voted unanimously, actually, as a recommendation to reject the proposal for the hog confinement plan near Ventura. And even though the application met all the state guidelines, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the county's thinking of that? I mean, it was, as I say, it was unanimous to basically go against state guidelines on this.
No, that's a good question, John. Thanks. You know, the issue of issuing permits for hog confinements and following what they call the master matrix has been handed down to us by the state of Iowa. And what the applicant does is they fill out the matrix form and then have the opportunity to have a hearing before the Board of Supervisors, provided they score properly. Our contention was that based on the fact that we had 4 different wildlife centers sitting between a half a mile to a mile and a half away from where the site was to be located, and we had in addition Calmus Creek snaking right by the confinement center, and Calmus Creek then goes all the way down into Mason City and dumps into the Winnebago River, that this application didn't meet the standards that would qualify it for the matrix. The state disagreed. We filed an appeal. We are going down next week for the appeal process. We just felt that Wild Goose Marsh fell within the distance limits of the matrix and therefore disqualified the application. Most of the applications for hog confinements are in the southern half of the county, and for a pretty good reason, because of Mason City, Clear Lake, and Ventura being to the north, and there's high sensitivity from the public as to hog confinements. That goes back all the way to the early 2000s when we had a county moratorium along with other counties in the state of Iowa, which then was overruled by the Supreme Court. But there was extreme sensitivity to them, and most of the confinement issues are in the southern half of the county. This confinement application comes from a party that lives in Hancock County, where the issue is pretty much cut and dried, and I don't think they had the understanding and the detail of where they were locating it and how sensitive people could be to that location, besides the fact that the marshes and the creek were in the vicinity of it.
You heard any more from the state on that, or?
We're going down for a...
But I mean, have you heard anything through the grapevine or any?
No.
Nothing?
We have the official
Right,
response
next
to
week.
our appeal from the state, and we have responded in kind, and now the hearing is set up for in the very near future to address that issue.
Okay. Second question, supervisors have taken pride in how they've held the line on taxes in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any circumstances under which you would support a tax increase?
Well, thank you very much for the compliment on holding the line on taxes. 11 straight years of no property tax increase. I think that's quite an accomplishment. There aren't really a whole lot of local governments that can do that from year to year, let alone 11 straight years. I think that the responsible stewards of the property tax dollar of our residents always try to find ways for economy. And that's one of the things we've done. For example, in the last 2 years, we've saved $1.7 million on our employee health insurance plans. How do we do that? We have a consultant from Des Moines. The gentleman's name's Timothy Johnston. He heads Kingston Health and Life. He was able to take a look at our plan and help us save the $1.7 million without any benefit cuts or policy changes to our plan. You know, I think that's the kind of thing that we really strive to do in our county. We work together, and that's Republicans and Democrats alike. We tend to pull in the same direction and work to the benefit of the taxpayers, and always try to economize and be as efficient as we possibly can, and regardless of where we're going to spend a dollar.
So you see any circumstance where you would raise taxes? Or?
I don't see anything in the near future unless it's something completely unforeseen and almost catastrophic. I mean, our fund balances are very good, and the amount of resources we have available for day-to-day operations is quite sufficient. So I can't see a reason why that would happen. There's always the unforeseen, but I don't know what that would be. Well, that's a city reappraisal project. No. No, I understand what's happening, and I know the interest the average citizen has, because during the course of my campaign, I try to knock every door in my district. So occasionally I will hear the question, and I'll have a discussion with citizens about that, and try to give them the information I know as to why it's happening. So, and I know that the paper has also covered the fact that particularly a number of businesses on the west side of Mason City have been impacted by that. I've seen some property owners whose tax assessment has went up, and some whose went down. So I guess that's part of the reappraisal project, is try to get an accurate, true picture as to what the value of the property is.
Well, let's talk about economic development.
Sure.
What do you see as the county's role in economic development, and how do you feel the county's doing in that regard?
Well, one of the things I tried to provide for you today is a list of projects that the county's been involved in with the major cities in our county, both Mason City and Clear Lake. Some of them are economic development projects, some of them are community development projects. But I think to preface any remarks about what's going on now, I'd have to go back to when I was originally elected. There was no involvement by the county in economic development, period. One of the first things I wanted to do was be seated on the Mason City Economic Development Corporation. I did that in 1989. I served there until 2009. After that, I've been serving on the Corridor Board from 2009 to 2016. In addition, Roger Browers, the late Roger Browers, was one of my colleagues in the 90s, started serving on the Clear Lake Economic Development Corporation. So what we tried to do is we've tried to reach out to our cities and say that the county was a player and a partner in economic development and in community development. You know, some of the projects we've been involved in Mason City, the ones that stand out, the Frank Lloyd Wright Hotel, where the county was a major contributor and supporter of that project. The Martin Brower project, which is economic development out in the industrial park, and they work with Sunny Fresh in partnership with them. They carry the same product. The ethanol plant, where we provided substantial economic development dollars for the purchase of property, plus we paved roads in conjunction with the city of Mason City, providing utility support. In Clear Lake, the Clear project, which has helped renovate the lake in effect, along with the city of Clear Lake and the Army Corps of Engineers. And of course McKesson Pharmaceutical, which is really a crown jewel for economic development in the county. Now 200 new jobs at approximately $40,000 a year with full benefit plans. And in addition, it's a $60 million capital investment. So we view our role as important and critical to assisting and being part of a partnership with Mason City and Clear Lake to enhance not only the quality of life, but the amenities and of course the economic activity for people who want to work. And good jobs and good employment opportunities are critical to a vibrant and growing community.
In your opinion, what are the top two biggest needs or goals for Saratoga County, and how should the county proceed in accomplishing that?
The first one I think is the development of a younger, more vibrant community. And the question is, how do you do that? How in the face of depopulation of rural and semi-rural areas in the state of Iowa do you develop that? That's one of the challenges that we've been sitting in with the Corridor Board and speaking about in the last few months, is to develop an overall team strategy between Mason City, Clear Lake, and the county to attract younger people to our community. As I said, I try to go out and see every person I represent in my district during the campaigns, and I can tell you the age of our population is increasing, and we need a younger, more vibrant community, a younger workforce, obviously, to help fill the needs of our employers, and obviously the vitality that comes from a younger community that offers growth and possibilities for the future. And you had a second question there. I didn't.
Just what are your two top priorities or goals? That was one of them.
Right. I think that's the most important one, and obviously the other one is establishing effective lines and in continuing to open lines of communication with all parties in the county, such as smaller towns and rural residents, making sure that they know that there's an open door policy, not only from the county but from the cities, to hear their needs and their concerns on issues.
How are you working on that? How are you establishing those lines of communication?
Well, one of the things I think we've done with the Corridor Board, for example, is we've tried to develop the Corridor Board and the county here kind of go together, but we've tried to develop a situation where we have to local communities like Emergency Management Board, where we have mayors and city council members who meet with us, the landfill board, which I serve on. We always try to make contact with those folks and to make sure that they know that they have the opportunity to have open dialogue with us on any subject. In addition, obviously, the Corridor Board with Mr. Schreck is part of that process too, especially in the area of economic development. I'll give you an example here. Just recently, we had a home that was in one of our communities, I believe it was in Rock Falls, it needed to be removed because of public health concerns. Mm-hmm. We had communication with Rock Falls, spoke to them about that and assisting them in removing the house. So, we want to make sure that they know that we're a partner with them. We do a lot of sharing with roads. We'll come through with our road equipment and help them. Obviously, the sheriff's department helps right now with law enforcement because they don't have the resources to do that. So, you know, we just think that partnership with everyone in the county is important and is critical to development for the future.
Well, I know you had, time I was helping with demolition of homes, I know there was one a couple of years ago where there was a request, I think, from Swelldale, that you didn't follow through on, but as I understand it, that was not a public health concern like this other one was. Am I right about that?
That is correct. That was a matter of the community wanting the home removed and wanting the county to pay for that, and it didn't fall under the realm of public health. We sent inspectors down to look at that house, but it wasn't the same thing. And we know that local small towns are really stretched for money. They do not have the resources that Mason City, Clear Lake, or the county has, and we try to take that into consideration. A lot of times it's all a matter of communication between the local officials and us in trying to address an issue.
All right, last one. Pretend we're undecided voters. Tell us why we should vote for you.
Well, I think the reason is trust and past performance. I've been reelected many times. I think you see politicians or political figures who are reelected many times, not only at the state or local level, Senator Grassley, Governor Branstad, the past Senator Harkin, in our county, the county auditor, the treasurer, the recorder, all have, two of those have 40 years of experience, one has 24. I think there's a level of trust and accountability there with people who've been reelected. I think our performance, particularly if I can just point out the last couple of years, 11th straight year of no property tax increase, $1.7 million in health insurance savings for the taxpayers of this county, and 200 new quality jobs at McKesson. I mean, I think those are the kind of things people are looking for. They're not looking for people just to have a record, but they want a record of performance, and I think that's what we try to provide: performance, efficiency, and accountability for the taxpayers. And it's a job I love. It's a job I find challenging every day, and I appreciate the concerns of people when I talk to them, especially in my door-to-door campaign, which is extensive and considerable. I think that people understand that their county government is well run. It's probably one of the best counties in the state of Iowa, and I mean that sincerely.
How many people are in your district? Do you know?
The overall county population is 41,144, and you divide that by 3.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Going back to what you said was the biggest need in the county, attracting more young people. Talk about your thoughts on that, how the county gets that accomplished, what you've heard from the DEC. What's next for you guys? I mean, you talk about flat property taxes, McKesson jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the next benchmark for election officials?
I think one of the interesting quandaries is how you do develop and bring new people here. Is it the community development projects that attract people? Is it the economic development projects that attract people? What is the magic formula? And I don't really think anybody has the magic formula, because if you take a look at the depopulation of Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, certain sections of states depopulating, people moving to places with more opportunity, such as the greater Des Moines area, the Cedar Rapids, Iowa City area, and even the Dubuque area, and they have a great advantage over a lot of folks. They have the river, and they have the casino, which they built off of. They built a lot of attractions there. I think it's going to demand a collaborative effort between everyone to develop a policy. I'm not going to say I've got those answers. I don't. But I'm willing to step forward with others and try to develop a policy, you know, that brings forth a younger and more vibrant population, which I think is absolutely critical for us. It's a tremendous challenge for any small and moderate-sized community in the state of Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, other states. You can just see it. The population starts from the western part of the state and goes to the east. And you know, it's been an issue that hasn't been answered by really too many people, if any. Sioux Falls is the only area that I know that has real growth out to the west. The challenge, very big challenge for everybody.
Is it a hopeless challenge?
I always like to have hope. I want to keep hope alive.
I'm 67 years old, and I've heard it ever since I was.
No, I agree with
when
you.
we were kids growing up, you know.
I agree with you, Tom.
And nothing's ever changed. The population keeps declining. And like you say,
It's
there are
moving
no-
demographics. I don't know if anyone has the ultimate answer, but we need to try. We need to make the, you know, the earnest effort to see if we can turn it around. Now, I will say one thing that's kind of interesting about McKesson. I've had 3 or 4 families that I know in the community whose children just graduated from college who said, I'm coming back to Cerro Gordo County because I can go to work at McKesson, and that's a job with a future. That's a job that I can get into and have a future with that company. So that's heartening to hear that. You know, and those are the kind of things we need, the success stories we need to have, you know. We've had good prospects come to the community before. We've had new development, but you know, we have our losses too because of NAFTA. We lost a lot of employees at IMI, all to Mexico. We lost the vast majority of Minnesota rubber to Mexico. We still have a remnant out there, but we don't have what we had before. And we lost the cement plant because Holcim decided to build a super plant down in St. Louis. Unfortunate. I mean, those are good jobs. I worked at Holcim as a college student. That's how I went to college. I was a grandson of an employee, and I worked 3 summers there, and that was how I went to school. So, and I grew up in the shadow of that area because I grew up on 14th and 15th Northwest in Mason City. So those things are important, and they mean a lot. They mean a lot. Other questions, guys?
So 4 or 5 more McKessons, and we got it made.
We're in business. Any more Fortune 15 companies with $60 million investments? I like that. I'm for that.
But even though this wasn't a county issue as such, you didn't see Prestige as being a growth for the city of the county, right?
Well, we weren't involved in the Prestige issue. I wish we were. I wish the county and Clear Lake had more of a role there. I didn't think it was a good fit for the area, no. But that's an issue that's done now, and we need to move forward, and we need to look at some of our prospects, and we do have some that are interested in coming to the community. We have a real good one that's making a decision next month, I'm told. So, and the county has pledged money to attract those type
Is that
of
the
jobs.
medical supply? Is that
Yes.
the medical supply then?
Yes, this would be an outstanding company.
So that's still
That's in the pipeline.
good.
Supposed to make a decision next month, and the county has staked significant financial incentive towards that, along with the city, of course.
Be watching for that.
Right. Let's hope we have good news.
Yeah.
And one other thing to say too is, and it goes along with the population issue, is if you drive through, and I don't know how often you guys do, drive through the industrial park, or really a lot of places around town, the help wanted signs are everywhere. I mean, that is part of the problem. You cannot get qualified employees. That would not have been an issue 3 or 4 years ago, but it is now because that workforce is just not there. And even though a number of employers have taken to voluntarily raising wages to $14 and $15 an hour, they're short of people. You know, I had a friend of mine who told me he is in construction. He said, Jay, I could hire 5 carpenters tomorrow at $22.50 an hour. He goes, I can't find one, not one. You know, so some of that, hopefully through the building trades out at NIAC, you can make the job attractive enough so more kids want to go into that area. You know, that's important to make sure that they know there is an opportunity there in working with your hands if you want to.
So some of that is getting the word out.
Right.
These opportunities are here.
And I see the same thing at UPS, and like I said, I've been there for 40 years, and you know, it used to be that you couldn't hardly get hired at UPS. There were so many people who were applying for work. Well, it's changed quite a bit, even at UPS, which has one of the best benefit packages and best pay in the country. You know, it's harder to attract people. You know, and you know, it's a challenge for employers to do that. And I hear that all the time from my friends in business and such. And it's the big issue as far as I'm concerned. Finding the workforce, finding the people who want to come to Mason City or come to Clear Lake or come to the county and have a future. Because there certainly is one here. I mean, I ran into a couple friends of mine in Des Moines back in March. They're former majority leaders in the Iowa legislature and candidates for governor, and they talked to me for probably a half hour, and they said, hey, you got a great community up there. You guys got a lot of good things going on. And I said, boy, I agree with you. And they come from areas that aren't as well off as us. And they said, you know, you guys have done a lot, and you got a lot to offer. And that was nice to hear. I mean, one of these guys was a Speaker of the House. I hadn't talked to him for 10 years. But, you know, he saw me and kind of waved me over and sat down, and I was impressed. I was impressed with the fact that other people around the state know that we've got good things going on up here.
Did you see last Randy Hinton over the weekend?
I saw
Red
that.
Power?
I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of our TIF projects to the west of town. Red Power and the establishment of Red Power in that it was the first county TIF, and along with out at Portland. If you've been out to Portland and seen their new Portland cooperative venture out there, I mean, and those are good jobs. Those are jobs that pay very, very well. And you know, it was an area that we're not usually the lead dog on these things, but on those 2 occasions we were. You know, we usually collaborate with either our friends in Mason City or Clear Lake, you know, for development. But those are 2 things we did on our own, and I'm glad we did. I mean, those are good company. Red Power's been outstanding, and Chuck Schaefer out at the co-op in Portland is, I mean, that's just terrific. You ever take a tour out there, he'll give you a tour, and it's just, their open house. Yeah, it was really nice.
You know, when Randy Hinton was expanding on basically Red Power, I went out there, and we got in the truck, and he drove me around. I was telling Tom Brzezinski, it reminded me of Jock Ewing on Dallas, you know, showing us South Fork, driving around. I mean, they were just so proud of it.
You know, in conjunction with that, NIAC put together a program for diesel mechanics. which they have now. So you've got the possibility, and they mentioned that when they were going to expand, they said, boy, we really need to have diesel mechanics available because we need those guys to work on this equipment, and they're hard to find, and it's a very competitive job market for them. So they coordinated with NIAC, and now they have a class there that they can train.
You were talking earlier about partnerships. NIAC is a huge,
Oh, yeah.
huge part.
Right.
Right in the middle of.
Well, I mean, that's why we supported their. Well, we do a couple things with NIAC. We support the alumni program, which sponsors events for students, such as Pathways to Success. Sometimes you guys need to come out and cover that. It's for all families that have students that have succeeded and are going on to either careers or other schooling. It's a terrific event. It's in the spring every year. Come out and cover that
We've
sometime.
covered it a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just.
We always give it a good pre-thing.
Oh, yeah.
and-
We do that, and we do the RSVP program, which is the fundamentals of reading. We assist the RSVP program, Molly Andrig there. Also, of course, we supported NIAC's venture to retool their facility, their big fundraising campaign. Those kind of things are investments in the future, and that's the kind of thing I think we just absolutely have to have. You have, like Bill Clinton once said, it's not tax and spend, it's invest and grow. And that's the way I look at it. Like when you're investing in your community colleges and your job training programs, it's invest and grow. Anything else, guys?
What was the name of the company that was gonna build a sand and gravel operation out by the jail, but everybody worried about the dust?
Corral. They were going to move from in town
I couldn't think of it.
to out there, but what they wanted to build was in the floodplain,
Right.
and that's why they couldn't build there.
I
And
thought
that's
that-
why they found the new location on 19th Street Southwest, right from the down to the west from the biodiesel plant.
I thought people were complaining about road dust and stuff.
Yeah, I
from
know.
all the
Those were,
trucks.
well, that was some of the business owners on
That's
on
right.
122.
That's right.
But the
The golf
issue
center and-
was,
yeah.
the substantive issue was the floodplain and the fact that they did not want to hook on to the city
Right.
utilities, which had been taken out there specifically for job development and business development. And they wanted to drill their own well and do all kinds of things that just were not suitable. I mean, and we encouraged them not to do that, but
Right.
they insisted, so.
I
But
remember
they
that.
got a good location now. It's pretty much out of the way, but it services their needs because they're right up onto Highway 10, old Highway 106, and they can get any place they want to. Far better than being over here in the northeast corner of town, where you're
Yeah,
landlocked and you can't get out. That's
That came to my
Yeah.
mind when you talked
Oh,
about
yeah.
Red Power building out there. I remembered that.
right. Well, yeah, they're like 2 miles to the west of them.
Red Power's getting huge.